So, will SpaceX's plan to land the Super Heavy booster back at its launch tower face delays? So, this possibility arises as SpaceX seeks approval from federal regulators to alter the landing site for its Super Heavy booster from the Gulf of Mexico to the Boca Chica Beach launch tower. Now, the change could delay Elon Musk's target for the next Starship launch scheduled for early August. Now, the Federal Aviation Administration, or the FAA, confirmed that SpaceX has requested modifications to its Starship launch license. However, the agency did not specify how long the review might take. They said, as always, safety drives the timeline. Now, while neither the FAA nor SpaceX provided detailed descriptions of the requested changes, the agency previously stated that modifications to the craft's configuration or flight profile would necessitate a new license. Now, the planned landing of the 232-foot tall booster at the launch tower is a significant alteration requiring an updated safety evaluation before the launch license gets viewed. Now, the launch tower at Boca Chica Beach features two giant arms designed to grab and guide the descending booster, dubbed chopsticks. And these arms are intended to gently lower the Super Heavy onto the launch platform. And unlike SpaceX's Falcon 9 booster, this Super Heavy does not have any legs. Now, renderings illustrate the system's intended operation, but the technology remains highly untested in real world conditions. An explosion at the tower poses significant risks, including environmental damage and the destruction of the launch infrastructure itself. Now, to mitigate this risk and expedite future launches, SpaceX is constructing a second launch tower at a Starbase facility. Now, the Super Heavy booster, comparable in height to the Falcon 9, but with a diameter over twice as large and nearly 30 feet, can carry 3,400 tons of fuel. And while it would hold less fuel during landing, it still presents considerable explosion risks. Now, following Starship's fourth launch in June, which saw Super Heavy guided to a soft splashdown in the Gulf, Musk announced plans to attempt landing the booster at the tower during Flight 5. The upper stage Starship successfully achieved a planned soft landing in the Indian Ocean for the first time during that flight. Now, as the regulatory review continues, SpaceX is preparing for the next launch, conducting tests on the booster and the upper stage Starship. Concurrently, the FAA is holding public meetings for an environmental assessment of SpaceX's request to conduct up to 25 launches and landings at Starship and Super Heavy in South Texas. Now, SpaceX is preparing for the fifth launch of Starship, aiming for the first attempt to land the Super Heavy booster back at the pad. And previous flights have ended in sea splashdowns. Now, this test is crucial for the next step towards making Starship a fully reusable rocket. Now, Starship, which is the heaviest and most powerful rocket ever flown, is being developed to transport large payloads to space, land back on the launch pad, and be ready for another mission within days or hours. And NASA has contracted SpaceX to supply a lunar lander variant of Starship to take astronauts to the moon's surface uh, after 2026. And Musk's ultimate goal for Starship is to facilitate human missions to Mars. And for the fifth test flight, SpaceX plans to catch the Super Heavy booster using Mechazilla. That's the launch tower with the chopsticks. These arms will grab the booster at a specific point, secure it, and then lower it to the ground. And during the fourth test flight, the booster executed the virtual landing at sea, which slowed its descent to simulate the Mechazilla catch before splashing down. Now, following this, Musk suggested trying to catch the booster with Mechazilla on the fifth flight. Nothing was in stone yet, but it looks like they're working towards that. And although there's no official launch date yet, a full duration test burn of the rocket's first stage was completed. This implies that there are few obstacles remaining before launch, and Musk had previously indicated an early August launch, but his timelines are usually very optimistic. They also tested the Starship itself, full duration static fire. Now, the first test flight on April 20th, 2023, encountered multiple engine failures, causing the rocket to spin highly out of control and triggering its self destruct features. Now, the second flight on November 18th saw stage separation, but ended with the first stage exploding during its slowdown procedure. Now, the third test flight on March 14th reached space, conducting fuel transfer tests, but failed to achieve a soft landing after losing control mid flight. The fourth flight on June 6th was the most successful so far, a Starship reaching orbit in both stages completing soft splashdowns. SpaceX's approach involves rapid iteration and learning from every single test flight. Any failure during the fifth flight will provide valuable data to define the design and procedures for future launches. And despite the risks, including potential damage to ground hardware, SpaceX's strategy is to push the boundaries with every single test. Now, the FAA's review process includes public meetings for an environmental assessment of SpaceX's proposed operations. The outcome of this review could influence the timeline of future Starship launches and also landings at Starbase. It's a huge, ambitious plan here. They have to demonstrate the capability to catch the super heavy booster with the tower's chopsticks. It's critical for achieving rapid reusability and advancing human civilization and missions to the red planet of Mars. Now, the FAA's review of SpaceX revised landing plans for the Super Heavy booster could delay the next launch. SpaceX continues to prepare for its most ambitious test flight yet, aiming to land the booster back at the launch tower. This is a key step towards making Starship completely reusable. Booster and upper stage, all of the engines, everything. Now, it will ensure that future flights will get people to the moon and eventually to Mars. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take a second, hit the subscribe button down below with maximum dynamic pressure. I'll see you in the next one.